I hope all is good with the electrical box behind you.
What do we got? Oh, yes,
I'm actually having a new water heater installed in my house today, so it's kind of top of mind. So that's why
yeah.
it happened to stick out. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Very pleased now to be joined here at SB Nation by the one and only, the dashing, the debonair, the internationally famous, one of the greatest baseball players, one of the greatest people, and one of the greatest golfers of all time. It is John Smoltz. John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna start off kind of strong. All right. I know I was gonna be talking to you, and I looked up your gin, and I don't know if you're someone who takes a little, maybe you take a month by month sort of thing, but you haven't been out according to it. So we're talking on May 21st, and your last round is recorded in April. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, I've been lax in some of my. I've been playing a ton of golf other places than home, and I've been playing a lot of strange matches that don't exactly like Ryder Cup. 72-hole Ryder Cup. Can't really put those scores in. Been playing in these team matches. Went to the Dominican Republic, played 99 holes in 33 days. Again, different matches. So I've been playing a ton of golf, just not a lot of rounds that you can say I put in my score.
Sure. Well, you're living a very difficult life, John. I mean, I really
Yeah.
feel for you. uh, we are here to talk about golf, and your life is so interesting. And I was telling you right before we started recording that I'm a Houston Astros fan. You play such a role in people's lives, whoever they are, and I'm sure that ripples into your golf life as well. What crossover have you seen? It's been long enough now, obviously, that you've been doing what you're doing these days. But how often do you find these worlds kind of merging in this way?
Yeah. So for first of all, for the game of golf, it extends your life in
Sure.
competition, right? Baseball, I played a long time, man, probably longer than I ever envisioned. And now I'm broadcasting, something I never thought I would do. But the golf is a common bond of in between, being able to still compete, play with some great golfers, play in some great tournaments like American Century Championship and all the things we get to do. And I'm just passionate about it. I want to see what level I can take it to and see how long I can play. I just turned 58. Can't wait to start getting in my 60s, shoot my age, and see how long I can do that. Simple goals that golf allows you to do. But I think the biggest thing that all of us of all walks of life, we realize this is something we can compete in and do it a lot longer than what we did in our own sports that made us special. So I'm fired up for it. I never played golf until I got to pro ball, and now I hope to play it until I can no longer swing again.
You're one of the people who I think one of the former professional athletes who's become really synonymous with it. I mentioned I covered the Cowboys. I'd put you and Tony Romo kind of in the same box. You know what I mean? Like you both
Yeah,
have this high level of fame relative to golf specifically. You mentioned the ACC. Tony Romo, obviously familiar with that trail as well. It's not for a couple of months at the time that we're talking, but I'm sure you're excited to go out to Lake Tahoe again. Just a really big burden on you, John, to have to go out
it
to Tahoe
is.
and play some golf.
There's a lot of stress on that week. Nobody better come up with anything because I'm not missing anything. I told my daughters one of them's getting married this week. I said nobody can get married during that July tournament. We got to keep that special. It's a special week. It's a phenomenal tournament at the right time, at the right place, with just an awesome crowd of people that come watch all walks of life play. I've been too excited too many times there. I call the All-Star game every year for the last 10 years. So depending on when the All-Star game is whether I got to fly in and get there, Wednesday. But this year I get to do the All-Star game after, so I can be in Tahoe all week. So I definitely make that a priority. And now that I'm healthier than I've ever been, I can hit balls and pound the golf balls, and without getting sore, without having issues. And there's just so many great players now. I'm going to be the oldest winner at some point. I don't know when that is, but I will be the oldest winner. That's my goal.
It certainly helps going back, right, every year, and that sort of takes me back to maybe my favorite moment as a baseball fan. It was Game 6 of the 2022 World Series when Yordan Alvarez turned the game upside down, and after just an incredible pause that you all had, you talked about how in a series, the more you get to see a reliever, the more opportunities begin to favor the hitter. I think that's kind of what you are, John. At this tournament, you know what I mean? Like this, you're getting more opportunities, more swings of the bat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the problem is until recently, and I've got my distance back in golf, but the problem is younger players keep coming in and bombing it all over the place. So I want to use my experience wisely this time and use my tournament experience. I've got one more qualifier, and I could possibly, if I get through, I go to the US Open. That will be before Tahoe, so that would be awesome if I can do that. But tournament golf's totally different than anything else. If until you played a lot of tournament golf, you have no idea that the patience is required, the time to think about shots is greater than anything else. I play 36 holes in 5 hours. Now, 5 hours and 30 minutes at Tahoe, you got to play 18 holes and not take the foot off the
Right.
pedal, and not, you got to pay attention to everything. So there's too much drift time, too much time to think about things, and I'm working on that.
Well, there's also media obligations, and you're seeing other people you haven't seen shaking hands, catching up. My daughter just got married. I'm so happy it wasn't this weekend type things. And so that we're all rooting for you, by the way, as far as US Open qualifiers. Obviously, it's a very difficult process, very difficult tournament. I did want to poke your brain on an interview you did with Golf Digest back in 2009 to see how much of you and your approach to golf, your affinity to
Mhm.
golf, your experience has changed. You were asked about the toughest course you have had ever played. This was in 2009. I don't know if that's helpful. What do you think you said, and what is the correct answer right now in 2025?
Man, so many more courses since then that I've played, but I think Oakmont. I don't know if that was my answer then, but Oakmont's unbelievable. It could host an Open in a week.
Oh, I completely agree with you, but you answered Butler National. That was
Okay,
what
Butler
you'd said at
National.
the time.
Butler National was at that time the hardest, most fun golf course I've ever wanted to play. Now, there's hard courses that you don't want to play much, you know, 2 times a year.
Hmm.
Butler's one of those you want to play every day to try to master it. And I did have a chance to shoot the course record on the last hole when I asked that question. It's changed since, but it is a unbelievable test of golf because it's in the same kind of condition all the time.
I think that that's a really well assessed sort of approach to Butler National. Interestingly, and kind of topically for our current moment in time. So you said Butler National. This is your exact line in the article. Butler National. I scored well on it, but it was tough, demanding course. Actually, I take that back. So I threw a bit of a curveball to you. I know you're kind of used to that yourself, but you get a chance to throw one at John
Yeah.
Smoltz, you're going to do it. You said the new one, which is again representative of the moment in time. The new one, Aaron Hills, which is
Oh,
hosting the U.S. Women's Open next week. As far as when you and I are talking here, you said that's the toughest golf course I've ever played.
yeah. That first came about when they had the Open, not too long after that. I think it was tipped out at about 7,800 yards, and there wasn't much room off the fairways. If you didn't hit it in the fairway, you weren't finding your golf ball. And I'll never forget the first time I walked that golf course going, wow. And I was in pretty good shape then to still be able to hit it, pretty far. But it was such a demanding golf course because they had a gem that nobody knew. Like this guy that created this course really was just a dairy farmer or something, and they convinced him to build this golf course. And what a testament it was to golf and how now it kind of survived time, changed owners, and like you said, they're going to hold another Open for the women there, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the yardage because the line I left off from your quote, you said it's almost 8,000 yards long. This has been living in the back of your mind for
Yeah.
16 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I only played one other course that was longer called the International in Boston from the Tiger Tees, like 81.33 was the yardage. Somebody bet me I couldn't break 80, so of course I took it. All I had to do was not double bogey the last two out of three,
That's
and
the
I had
worst.
it, and of course I did. But it had so much yardage on the par threes that you just can't you can't make it up. Like it was the shortest par three was like 233. They had 270, 250. It was impressive to try and tackle that golf course.
That's impossible. I mean, it truly is. I mean, you've got to be incredibly sharp to head to a place like that. They should offer warnings the way they do at Bethpage, which is actually you were asked about that relative to kind of our current time going to host the Ryder Cup. You were asked you played Bethpage Black. You said I have not, and then you said this will sound snooty and snobby. Do you know what sounded snooty and snobby at the time?
I think probably about how long it would take to play the golf course.
That's exactly what you said. You said you like a quick round. Yeah.
Well, being a public and really a fantastic golf course, I did get a chance to finally play it, and it is really an incredible test of golf. And I had a great round going. I think 17 is a par three, and I buried it under the lip. It's a long par three, which unfortunately made me shoot over par. But I've never played Torrey Pines for kind of the same reason because it's really hard to get out there and while you're playing baseball, get around it and still make
Sure.
make that's how I viewed everything on the road is could we get around in, if it was a factory and took forever, then I just didn't have, unless it was an off day, just didn't have the opportunity to go to those kind of places, wait around to try to get a tee time.
I'm fascinated at the role that golf has played in your life. That's not an average Joe's experience, right? Like, well, we're playing the Dodgers tonight, so we really got to work to get this in here, guys. I mean, come on, let's hurry on up. But golf has that kind of power for these moments. I mean, you've recalled so many different shots over your life just in the last 10 minutes. Recently, my family and my dad retired last year. We went to Pebble this year, and it was super awesome. I have a 3-year-old though, so I haven't been out as much as I would like. It was a bit of a disaster, but I parred 17, also a par 3. And I will never in my life ever forget that. You know what I mean? It was just this seminal kind of moment. The walk up, with the entire ocean was just incredible. You mentioned you didn't start playing golf until pro ball, but what was the moment that hooked you? Like, was it something like that?
It was, in a way. I had veteran players, the Atlanta Braves weren't very good, and they took me out. I'll be honest, this is an embarrassing moment, but it taught me how I needed to kind of learn about golf. So my first real road experience was at the San Francisco Golf Club. I didn't know anything about the history of the place, how hard it was to get on. Just I didn't know anything about golf, and
Sure.
I just would like to play and be funny, and so I put an exploding golf ball on the first tee in front of all the caddies. Nobody knew this. And I said that I crush a golf ball because I asked how far the trap was. And he said, "You can't reach that trap." And I said, "Buddy, I crush a golf ball. You have no idea." And I exploded the ball and nobody laughed. And my teammates were about having a heart attack. They couldn't believe I did this. And after that, they tried to teach me the history and the etiquette of golf was not what I was approaching.
Sure.
And I started taking more notice and started realizing the special nuances of the game. And I created we didn't have the technology and you can like all the different technology where you can put all your phone numbers. I had a book and I kept all the numbers, all the members, all the pros, and I just started going around the league and trying to play all the best golf courses I could after that. And it was embarrassing, but I learned a lot from it.
I mean, if I was a professional baseball player, that's how I would want to do it. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to stick in the hotel and work out. You know what I mean? That,
Right.
you would have to find a way to kind of balance things out. And it's obviously been something that you've been able to parlay into your post baseball career, obviously as a broadcaster, but especially with opportunities like the ACC. I mentioned Bethpage. The Ryder Cup doesn't necessarily work well for you, I would imagine, from a time standpoint, but is it something that you've ever been out to? I'm curious, do you plan on going out this year, or is it too close to things getting sticky for you?
Yeah, it's too close. Doing a game those Saturdays just doesn't
Right.
work unless it's somehow in my backyard. But the Ryder Cup is must see TV, and I play in a lot of fun Ryder Cups, and there's nothing better than trying to gain a point for your team and root for your players. Golf needs more team events, but I don't think they're going to have many of those. But when they do put together some team events, especially when you're playing for your country, it's special. I mean, these guys play golf by themselves all year, and they have to make a living. But when they get to actually root for one another and for the USA, it's really cool.
No, I mean, all due respect to the Zurich, and we don't need to dive into the live conversations or whatever. It's
Right.
just there's something very, very, very special about that. And even the President's Cup doesn't carry that same energy. I know we're stating the obvious here, John. I
Yeah.
would be remiss if I didn't ask you about my Astros and about your thoughts on Houston's season to date. It feels like every day somebody new is injured, but the Astros for at least most of the last decade have been rather inevitable. And I'm curious if you think that air can exist over them throughout the summer and into the fall once more.
They still have enough pieces and enough parts of their DNA to know that they belong and they can win. They've gone in a little bit different direction. They've made some wiser financial choices based on what the future looks. It comes down to can they get their pitchers healthy? And some of the pitchers that they've been waiting to get come back, they're still going to be really good if they get them in. The division's very winnable. They balance themselves very well with the younger player that has kind of filled the gaps. Keeping Alvarez is healthy is so important. Of course, Altuve, but I just think you can't give up on the Houston Astros, even though they let a couple pieces go away, and are having success somewhere else. They they're a shrewd ball club with a shrewd owner, and they're not going to kind of abandon ship and just reboot. They're going to they're going to do things differently with still the idea of winning.
They'd be a terrible golfer to be in a match with, because you're right. Shrewd is a great word. They would find a way and just kind of, wrestle the worst out of you. You know what I mean?
They
Especially if
would
they were.
be, yeah, they would be a match play nightmare because that's match play. You could be all over the place and hole one out and just have, they're going to find ways to win.
Last one for you, John. Bucket list course that you haven't found yet. I saw Ricky Fowler was asked this, by the way. And with all due respect to the interviewer, kind of a silly question to ask Ricky Fowler. I recognize it's kind of a silly question
Yeah.
to ask you as well. But is there somewhere you just haven't made it out to yet?
No, there is. I've always gone to where the cities I've ever been to. I finally got to Scotland. There was so many
Good for you.
things there. I've been waiting a long time. Finally did that. But as far as the U.S., there's still a slew of courses that, believe it or not, I haven't played. Um, Everyone tells me about Bandon Dunes. I've
Oh
never
man,
been to Bandon Dunes, so that's going to be on the bucket list, along with maybe Sand Hills in Nebraska. Is that what?
yeah,
That's another one I hear is, in the middle of nowhere. Got to do it. But there's so many great golf courses that I haven't been to. My baseball playing days of the 21 years, we went to just the cities we played in, and
sure.
I think we hit about 73 of the top 100 at some point golf courses. So think about how incredible that was to not go out of our way to go play them, but we're actually in those cities. And so, yeah, there's still some that I'm looking forward to knocking off and being able to say I played it. But Bandon Dunes is one that everybody keeps coming up with, saying you've got to do it.
You got several options there. I mentioned my dad right before he retired. He went with some friends and it was awesome. But that's one of those, like we said, if you're, if you're playing a game, that evening, it's not,
No,
it's not close by. That's what
yeah,
makes, we're coming off the PGA. That's what makes Charlotte kind of cool. You
yeah.
can get there and you can do everything all in one day. Pros and cons, different, flavors of ice cream, so to speak. John Smoltz, you're so awesome to watch and enjoy. Hit them straight at the ACC. We'll be rooting for you. Although if it comes down to you and Tony, I'm just a teeny bit biased, but
I
I
understand.
will really celebrate your second place. You know what I
I
mean?
will.
Just but otherwise rooting for you.
Listen, my career had a lot of second places, so it's not that bad if my golf fills that void as well.
Well, early congratulations to your daughter. I hope the ceremony and everything is a whole lot of fun. Dance, make memories, sing, laugh, and once again enjoy Lake Tahoe in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, John. Have a great rest of your week.
You got it. Yep.